Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Bot Talk. We are live streaming this on YouTube right now. This will be available on Spotify and the Bot Talk website. In today's episode of the Bot Talk, my friend challenged me to a live Q&A on the Bot Talk. He said we're going to do this live. We're going to have all the questions here. He's go ahead and prepared questions for me. I haven't looked at these questions yet. His name is Alex. Alex, go ahead and say what's up.
Yo, what's good, guys?
So essentially, Alex will go ahead and say these questions to me. I'll give my honest response. I've done this live in a way just to make sure there's no editing here. You guys can get a raw response. I feel like it'll be interesting. I have a decently interesting story for you guys. There's loads of elements to my story that I really want to put out there, so it'll be really good to see. However, we have two things I have to mention before we start. The first thing, this episode is sponsored. It is sponsored by Oculus Proxies. They are the fastest and most reliable proxies provider on the market. They have dedicated DC and residential proxies, over 400 subnets, and their proxy from all packages are with instant delivery. Check them out down below in the description. And the next thing is, throughout this episode, the Bot Talk Discord will be available for you guys to purchase. If you guys want to check out, is the top link in the description. It has a set amount of stock. It should sell out throughout the episode. However, we'll be doing a fresh batch at the end of the episode as a restock. So that is one thing to keep in mind. So let's jump straight into this. Once again, I don't know the questions whatsoever. Alex went ahead and prepared these. So Alex, start with the questions.
The first thing we always ask our guests on the Bot Talk is, how did you discover reselling?
Obviously, this is the basic question that I ask all the guests on the show. How did you discover reselling? And me personally, I discovered reselling through doing my own research into shoes. I went ahead and looked into some shoes that I really liked, and this was purely through like Instagram ads. When I saw like slot services but ads on there, went ahead and looked into it. I saw like these shoes. I think the first set of shoes that I really liked was from the 10 collection, the collaboration between Off-White and Nike. The UNCs definitely caught my eye, so that was one thing that really caught my eye and I really wanted it. But when I got into the shoes and how to get them, I started researching the best way to get these shoes, and then I discovered botting. I integrated myself into the botting community, kind of realized how much money you have to put in, and I kind of like followed the right people to get into the reselling community, and that's how I got into the reselling community. And then I was practically at the door of the botting community. That wraps up the first question.
How did you discover botting?
So at the end of my last question, I said I got to the door of botting. Once I got to the botting door, essentially how I integrated into it is I started talking with a few people, joining some marketplaces, and I basically got an idea of how much these bots cost, how much capital you need to put into these, and essentially a better idea how the community works. And from there, I went and purchased my first bot and got my first role. That is something we are going to talk about, I think, if Alex has done these questions right. Let's hope. But yeah, that wraps up the second question.
When entering the botting community, what did you want to be known as?
So when I entered the botting community, I actually started a YouTube channel, and on that YouTube channel, I was talking about reselling, I was talking about botting, and I was literally just talking about anything that had my interest. Because on my YouTube, essentially what it was is I would literally just talk about my interests, and that was one of the things. Back in the day, I had a gaming channel. Gaming was my interest, so I basically went ahead and made a gaming channel. Reselling and botting was my interest, so I went ahead and made a channel around that. So when I entered the community, I wanted to be known as a YouTuber overall. That wraps up the...
What were some of the things you did at the beginning to project yourself into the community as your current desired role?
So essentially, when I first got into the community, I wanted to be known as a YouTuber and a person that made guides for people and things along that nature. So what I did to project myself, I did get myself a few roles within companies to go ahead and develop a tiny reputation for myself, so I could project my name forward and also my brand. That's kind of how that happened. And it was interesting because at the time there wasn't too many content creators around. I think Boy Nova may have been around, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe he was just starting. There was not a lot of video content within the community. It was interesting to say the least.
What were some of the first companies you were involved with when you first started?
When I first started, literally the first day I did actually properly start, I managed to cop on an Adept restock. This was back when Adept first came out of his private beta and went into public. I managed to get a copy, and essentially I worked my way up through a week through the ranks till I got to support. Then that was the first big company I was a part of. I worked with them for quite a while, and I worked in content creation for them, making guides for them, helping the Discord, and things along that nature.
Do you have a job in real life? And if you've had one in the past, how does it differ to working online?
At the moment, I do not have a job in real life. I haven't had a job in real life for 3 years now, I think. And that is purely because I'm able to make a financial income online. And that is why I choose to do things online. Like, I don't want to dedicate time to an in real life job, and I can dedicate time online and create an income for myself, because personally, that's just the way I kind of navigate things. I know for a fact people have different opinions on this, but personally, I just like to work online. And I know if I know I'm making good amount of income online, then I'm going to continue to do that, and that's what personally makes me happy. I have had jobs in real life before. I've done voluntary at a computer hardware store for 2 years. A voluntary meaning I didn't get paid. I learned the skills how to build computers. That kind of aided me to build my own. It kind of gave me an idea how technology works. And I also worked with my dad, worked with him for quite a while in the summer. And I also worked at a tuition center. Essentially, a tuition center is like a private tutor center, and I made content for them as well, where essentially we made someone narrated over videos, and I created graphics for those videos. So yeah, and how it differs to working online is essentially when you're working online, there is no dedicated hours. I feel like with online, there isn't a dedicated 9 to 5. There isn't any time period. With working in real life, you go to your work 9 to 5. After that, out of those hours, the idea of working online and your job online clearly out of your head. Whereas when you do stuff like this, you always have to be on 24/7, except for when you're sleeping. You always need to be you always need to be integrated into the space that you're working in.
What was the effect of you working with these companies at the start?
So when I first got involved with these companies, and I started developing my name in the community, there was a follower boost there. There was a reputation development there, just because obviously people were getting to know you. These companies were getting bigger, therefore the staff team was getting bigger. And of course, as you guys know now, staff teams for loads of companies these days do get better, and their staff team do gain following because of that. And that was kind of very similar effect to what happened with me.
How often do you bot?
So personally, at the moment, I've started botting a lot more than what I did whilst I was in season of the Bot Talk. It didn't really interest me too much, but now that I've kind of ended up Bot Talk season 2, and I've just gone into like this kind of freelance mode, I am botting a lot more, and I am getting into it. At the moment, I'm only going for releases I can, like Supreme tomorrow. I'll definitely go for that. I'll definitely do spots. I'm just trying to get back into the swing of things, but obviously during in seasons of the Bot Talk, I don't usually bot.
Where did your passion for content creation come from?
My passion for content creation sparked from when I was a very, very young age. At the age of 9 or 10, essentially what I was doing was I was creating unboxing videos. So when I would have enough money to go buy a video game or a console, which was like not very often, essentially I'd get like my laptop webcam that was integrated. I think it was like 480p or something like that. And basically make these videos acting like I have a following and acting like I have a YouTube channel. And I would have a YouTube channel at the time. They had like about 10 subscribers. I'd post it on YouTube, and essentially just content creation itself. I just liked narrating over stuff. I liked unboxing stuff. I liked creating content from a young age. I don't know why that is. Literally no one in my family does anything similar to this, but that's always been instilled me from a young age. So that's how it kind of started.
What was some of the first content you produced?
So the first content I ever produced in my life was unboxing videos, and it was the kind of idea that I have something I want to thing out there and show people how it is. And I went from unboxing videos to like gameplay videos. I would literally just do anything I could. Obviously, because I was a kid at the time, I was like 10 or 11. I was very limited with my hardware capabilities as well as my software capabilities, because I had no income. I couldn't buy editing softwares. I couldn't buy better hardware, and I was also limited to the hardware at the time. Like a 480p camera on a laptop was good back then. Now you expect like 1440p cameras and stuff like that, or separate cameras itself. I was very, very limited at the time, but my first content were like unboxing videos, gameplay videos, stuff along that nature.
What made you start a YouTube channel surrounding reselling or botting?
So the idea behind creating a YouTube channel surrounding reselling and buying was just purely because that was what consumed my life at the time. And essentially, that was the only thing I think about. That's the only thing I invest my money in, and that's why I decided to create a YouTube channel. And I feel like that definitely did help me because it gave me an idea of how people navigate the YouTube scene in correlation to the Twitter scene as well with reselling and botting. And I feel like that gave me an early understanding of how to operate the community, and I'm very grateful for it.
What made you decide to start the Bot Talk?
So this is a good question. Essentially, what made me decide to start the TheBotTalk was essentially the way my mind works without going too deep is that it needs a routine and it needs something to do. The way I avoid slipping into like feeling down or feeling sad or essentially just going through a rough time is by occupying my life. That's why this time period where we literally have nothing to do, it is kind of difficult because I need to find things to do. But the TheBotTalk on a weekly basis allowed me to occupy my mind, create a series, and that's why I decided to start it. I didn't do it with the thought of this blowing up because, to be honest, this idea on paper shouldn't have done the numbers it did, but it did, and I'm very grateful. So essentially, it was literally just to occupy my mind and also regulate activity on my YouTube channel. And that was kind of one of the main focuses. I wanted to create content on a consistent basis, linking back to when I was a kid and creating content. So that was the type of reasoning as to why I started the bot.
What were the early days like when you first started the Bot Talk?
I first started the TheBotTalk, essentially, I'm not gonna lie, it took off from episode 1. Literally, as soon as I make the Twitter account, and I had a bit of following on Twitter at the time on my personal account, I brought out the tweet saying I'm creating a podcast. And obviously, this wasn't a hugely not supported or even an idea within the community. There weren't any podcasts to my knowledge. So essentially, when I did it, no one really took notice until I started getting people on. I DM'd like literally at least like 40-50 people that day, trying to get them onto the episodes and trying to get them onto the podcast. A lot of them didn't respond until they saw people. I think the first episode was with Sean from PD at the time and Luke Stars. So once I got that episode in and the views started coming in, it kind of took off straight away, and that's what allowed me to keep creating these episodes.
Was the initial reaction to the Bot Talk the one you were expecting? If it wasn't, how was it different?
My initial reaction that I was expecting was that the series would slowly build hype and slowly build views. I wasn't expecting to do it for 28 episodes long or 29 episodes long, but essentially what happened is it, for some weird reason, and I till this day I can kind of pinpoint, it was because there was a lack of content from these people except from their Twitters. So essentially removing the 140 character limit on Twitter and allowing them to sit down and talk about their lives. I feel like that was one of the biggest reasons. But it was completely different. It was kind of blown out of proportion. Like literally the views were coming in, the subscribers coming in, the engagement was there, everything was there, and that allowed me to build this brand and make it is what it is today.
How was the process of creating an episode for the Bot Talk?
So essentially, I'm going to go ahead and run through the process from start to finish. Essentially, I would contact the person like maybe a couple of weeks before, maybe a month before, and I'd open them up to the idea of doing an episode. They'd respond saying yes. I'd be like, okay, great. 1 week away from doing the episode, I'll go ahead and contact you. I'm going to align a date, we'll align a recording date, and then basically the day before I send them the questions I'm going to ask them just so they're confident with it and they can make notes. Then the day of the recording, we go and record it on Discord. The day after, I start marketing it. So the day after, I let people coming on. If it's a restock episode, I don't tell them about the restock straight away. So day 1, record. Day 2, introduce the idea. Day 3, don't do anything. Day 4 is when I contact my graphics designer. My motion designer, sorry. He creates a marketing video for the episode that includes the restock within it. I put that on Twitter. That creates engagement. I finish up the episode and send it to them so they can review it. Once they review it and they feel like it's good, if they have any tweaks, I'll make tweaks. And then from there, it is that day. Then the day after, I finalize the video, getting up onto the YouTube backend. The uploading day, the publishing day, I continue pushing towards marketing, continue talking about it in my tweets, and market the episode to be one of the biggest things of that week. And loads of cases like with the cyber or the what ball episodes, these episodes literally take over the timeline for a good amount of time because all these restocks are things people want to go for. So that's kind of how the marketing's done, how the episode.
What are the advantages of running the bot talk whilst you are in season?
The advantages is clearly that the bot talk gives me something to do. Linking back of that idea of not slipping into like dark times. When I was growing up, when I didn't have anything to do, and I kind of fell into not like I don't want to say depression, but I feel like it was a down period where I literally didn't want to do anything. Like I did want to do stuff, but I didn't have any idea what to do, and that was what was kind of keeping me in the loop of keep down and being down and not doing anything. So I think the bot talk did save me there, and is allowing me to create some routine in my life because the human brain strives for routine. So that is kind of what that helped me to do. But the other advantages is that obviously with the bot Discord, it's created a revenue stream itself. It is a very good revenue stream, very grateful for it. So that's obviously allowed me to continue working online and continue doing these things. And also the advantages is obviously getting to know big people, all the engagement coming towards the brands and building the bot talk. Like it literally hit, it's nearly at 6,700 followers, which is absolutely insane. I think that is the advantages rounded up.
What are the disadvantages of running the bot talk whilst you're in season?
Now, the disadvantages links back to an idea that I call the trade-off, and essentially the trade-off is where there's loads of advantages for some disadvantages. Now, the disadvantage is that I could do these episodes, I could put these restocks in, but only because there's a limited amount of restocks, copies in the restock. I get bashed quite a lot for these restocks, and like with the recent one, I got the password leak. Literally nothing I could have done there. I couldn't have predicted that someone download the captions and go through that. Obviously, I got bashed on Twitter pretty hard for that. I feel like it isn't even a disadvantage because I'm at the point where like it doesn't phase me. I don't really pay attention. I pay attention to it just to know, but it doesn't really phase me. But that is one of the disadvantages. People mash disliking, which is where it is. Then another disadvantage would be that you can't always find guests, and some guests do end up canceling, which creates gaps in the season and just is an inconvenience. So that's why I had to segregate it into seasons. To be honest, I feel like that rounds up the disadvantages pretty well.
What comes next for the bot talk?
So as you guys know, we ended off season 2. Season 2 was very, very successful. Overall, the most successful season we've ever had. I think it was just a bit above season 1. Season 3 is in the works. Season 3 has a planned date that I'm not going to reveal just yet. You'll have to stick to the bot talk to make sure you guys know when that happens. But it's in the works. I can't reveal too much about it, but it's going to be very, very similar to season 1. And I feel like you guys are definitely going to enjoy it.
What comes next for yourself?
So, Alex just messaged me and told me that this is the final question. So, I think this is the 20th question now. What comes next for myself? Essentially, I want to create a new project within the community. I'm not entirely sure what that is going to be. It is going to be a product of type, whether that's access to something, whether it's actually a physical product, or that is a software. I am going to be looking into projects. I'm constantly looking to work with people. If you listen to this and you have any ideas, go ahead and contact me. I like working with people, but I definitely want to create a product. I want to continue building the brand and also continue pushing out these episodes. Obviously, this episode was kind of like an April Fool episode, like why are you doing an episode on yourself? Kind of just to get my story out there and focusing on the bot talk, focusing on creating a new product, and also just making sure I can maintain myself during these hard times. Obviously, you guys know what's going on around in the world right now, so I just wanted. I feel like that sums up my goals very well. So that ends today's episode. I know this was a lot more shorter than usual. I just kind of fired through these questions, but I do want to let you guys know that the TheBotTalk Discord is actually available for you guys to go ahead and check out. The link is on the screen, also at the top of the description. If you guys want to check it out, there's some stock on there for you guys. You guys can go and join the Discord. There's some exclusive access content for these episodes, like restock hints, early access to these episodes. So please keep that in mind if you do want to purchase. But the end of today's episode, I want you guys to go ahead and thank Alex for going ahead and taking some time out to go ahead and read these questions. I very do much appreciate it. And the next episode is actually overly planned on the bot talk. for the people that are in here now, the next episode is with Bispo, who was previously at Restock Wars. So it's going to be an interesting episode. I'm going to catch you guys next time.